14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Welcome into episode 94 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, Willimantic Today, Facebook, Spectrum 192, the WILI Radio YouTube channel. Matt, did I leave any platform
I think that's it.
Our sister state? No, not yet. You also can hear the replay. I never mentioned this. If you miss Hometown Threads, Tuesdays, 5:05 to 5:30, we replay it Sunday mornings at 8:30 on WILI. So, but there are plenty of ways to watch a show. Of course, it airs every Tuesday on the radio, 5:05 to 5:30. Thanks to our fine sponsor, we got so many mugs here, and I'll tell you why in just a sec. For those who are in Radio Land, you'll have to go back and watch a show. We have some great work here from our guests, so you'll meet in just a sec. Hometown Threads brought to you by Liberty Bank. Be community kind with 3 great local locations. Of course, across the street from the radio station at 679 Main Street. West Main Street, Willimantic, Gateway Commons, managed by my wife, Mary Ann. That's at Gateway Commons, West Main Street, Willimantic, and Route 195 in Mansfield. Liberty Bank, be community kind. Jay, Matt, Root Bar, if you be so kind and say hello to the fine folks.
Hello?
And of course, we have a podcast sponsor. All our wonderful talk programming, you can be heard on WILI.com as well as our YouTube channel. I got to go back to that for a second. Crush the subscribe button if you wouldn't mind. WILI Radio to search for our station YouTube channel. But big thanks to Triple E Pro Clean Services, the podcast sponsor at WILI.com. Now let's welcome in for episode 94. Very talented, and only, she just took a couple feet out of her store, her shop, to step over here to 720 Main Street. She's at 750 Main Street, Spiral Art Studio. Let's give it up for Daniela. I don't think we've ever given applause. Why not? Daniela de Sousa. I got it right. I just want to say de Sousa, but it's Daniela de Sousa. And we just found out literally before the cameras and the microphones went on that your uncle is John Murphy from On the Home Front here on
right.
WILI.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Daniela.
Thank you.
Should I call you Danny or Daniela?
Danny is good.
Danny's good, okay. Spiral Art Studio, you're the owner.
Yes, I am.
Again, just a couple doors down from WILI, a couple doors up, I should say. And how long have... by the way, you should see, for those of you who are listening but will be watching the show or maybe watching the show now, wonderful work by Danny. And this is all you. I'm sure you have a crew too, right?
This is all me, and I brought this one from Kaylin. She's one of my assistants at the studio and been apprenticing with me. And this one, I love it because it's got Willimantic on it.
We'll get into more of this wonderful work, but I'm sorry, I asked the question and I went on to something else. How long have you owned Spiral Art Studio?
We started Spiral Arts about 7 years ago. And it was across the Frog Bridge by South Park Street.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. And we were there for 5 years, and in the end of 2023, we moved here to Main Street.
Wow. So your second location, and how are you liking this location? Much better to probably be on Main Street, right?
Oh yeah, I love it.
I mean, South Park's still pretty good too, but
I joke that it's all grown up over here.
So yes,
Yeah.
this is definitely. It's especially it's good. Main Street's really come back alive. You know, I was just telling somebody the other day how I think people that don't live it like we do every day. I say, you, Matt, and myself, we're around it. We're constantly going up and down Main Street. We live in the area. And people come down here, look at it. No, it's really got a lot of younger business owners. It's coming alive, and Spiral Art Studio now a part of it. Let's backtrack, as I do with all my guests. Let's hear the backstory, the Danny backstory. Danny de Sousa, right? Okay. Watch, by the end of the show, I'll be calling you de Sousa. Anyway, tell us, you're not originally from these parts.
No.
Brazil, right?
Correct.
Right.
I came to United States in 1999. I was 19 and landed here because my aunt, lived here, and my whole family came. And I did not speak any English.
Really?
Yeah. I landed. I didn't pass the TOEFL exam to get to the university, the English proficiency exam. So I ended up at QVCC, and
right across the street.
Right across the street. Yeah. At that time, they had a wonderful program for English language learners. So even though on the I could do math, and you know, at college level, I couldn't do the English part, so they had non-credit English, and for a couple of semesters, I did that and sign language and math.
Did you
class.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just because I couldn't understand the language.
You were so you're picking all this stuff up. And you were at the time. What? You're 19.
I was 19 when I got here. Yeah, and then I finished my associates at QVCC. I did all of my classes right here in Willimantic. That was wonderful as well. Saying this because now they have cut the budget so bad that kids can't finish all of their associates here. So, you know, they have to go to Danielson so anyways, just a little... yeah, and then I went to Eastern and did my undergrad in sculpture. And that was a wonderful time as well under Claudia Wittes there.
Okay, so and so how old were you at that time when you were getting into the sculpture thing?
Well, so I have my undergrad in sculpture. I never really studied ceramics in college. I worked with clay and ceramic sculpture in college, and then I graduated, did all sorts of like odds and ends for a while, and then I went back to school and I did my art ed, my graduate work in art education. In Florida, actually. I spent 4 years there. And then when I came back, I was certified to teach art, so I taught elementary, middle school, and high school right here in Wyndham. I taught in Wyndham Center, then I did a little while in Coventry, and then I taught at Wyndham High as well.
So from Brazil, you went to school here for a little bit, and then what was the window when you were down in Florida from, like, how old were you, what year or what year?
My daughter was born, so it was 2010 to 2014.
Okay, so you're down there going to school as well.
Yeah.
And then what brought you back here in 2014 to Willimantic or Eastern Connecticut?
I actually really like it here. And
You liked it better than Florida, huh?
Yeah. I like the weather in Florida, if you may.
Yeah, we all do, but yeah.
I love New England from April to December.
Winters haven't been that bad though.
No, they haven't been that bad. But if I could, I've been structuring my life around my kids. You know, having summers off because I have 2 kids, but now that they're growing, I'm starting to review that, and I like it here. I don't want to leave. I don't want to do vacation in July.
You're not going to pick up and move Spiral Arts to like Brazil or back to Florida.
No, not at all.
Right?
No, I'm going to stick around here, but I'm restructuring so I can work more in the summer. And take January, February, March, not off. I don't think I could do that, but definitely take more vacations and be out of here more this time of year. Yeah.
Well, how old are the kids? Let's get to know the kids. What are their names?
So I have a 14-year-old daughter who's in high school, and then I have a 21-year-old son, Kyle, who, in fact, he's taking classes at Eastern, but he just bought the building next door to me.
No kid. This is like
friends.
breaking news.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. So, and they're moving and shaking. They're doing some really cool things.
Are we allowed to talk about what his plans are for that? Or
I don't know exactly what they are. I don't want to talk too much,
No,
you know.
it's fine.
But yes, that just happened. And
how do you feel about that? You got to be so proud of him.
I
He
am
bought
very
the
proud of him.
building. Your son, 21 years old,
Yeah.
bought the building next to you.
Yeah. Jim Bolano said that he's the entrepreneur of the year.
Yeah, you could definitely make a case for that.
Right.
Yeah, good. That's a
Yeah.
good, nice compliment there.
Very
from,
proud.
Jim Bolano.
And, and his friends, and they're just good kids, you know, and yeah.
I'm very excited to hear what's going to happen in that right next door to you.
Yeah, me too.
See, there's just back to my point about how we're getting a lot of young action here on Main Street. Hannah, Egg and Cheese, she's been on Hometown Threads. Cupcake for Later, I think there's some younger people there. Help me out here, man. There's some
Trigo.
Trigo,
pizza,
thank you. Trigo, right between us, you know,
Yeah.
right between Spiral Arts and WILI. It's definitely a common theme. We're seeing a lot of young action here on Main Street, and it's great. It's great to see people rolling up their sleeves and really making the town thrive, you know.
Yeah.
So tell us more about. Okay, so you come back from Florida, you start teaching. You taught at a lot of surrounding schools, right? Wyndham Center. Did you say
Coventry?
Coventry.
Wyndham High. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I also I started teaching at Eastern. So I teach
You
ceramics.
taught at Eastern too.
I still do, yeah. I teach ceramics and sculpture there part-time. And Yeah, but so about 7 years ago, I started with Spiral Arts, on the other side there, and teaching at Eastern. And then I was in Coventry for a second, and then I quit, and I was going to do Spiral Arts full time. And I
so
did
Spiral
that.
Arts was already in your head. You knew you wanted to get.
Right. So, I was teaching at Wyndham Center, and I really I wasn't really enjoying that, too much. I enjoyed teaching, enjoyed the kids.
This is before Spiral Arts, right?
Before Spiral Arts. So then one of the TAs there, Linda Gabehart, she's a stained glass artist and a ceramic artist, and she was teaching, and she lives nearby Wyndham Center, and she was teaching classes. I had never sat on the wheel. That was, 2016? And so I had this experience with clay, but I didn't have any experience with functional work or ceramics like that. And I took 2 classes with her. I remember it was like an hour, $15 for an hour. She brought me to her little studio and and it was hard because it's not something you just like get this instruction, do this, this, and this, and then you do it.
A lot of skill, I would think.
Yeah, it's like I joke with my students like having abs. You can't just like go and do 100 push-ups or sit-ups and then you have abs. You have to keep at it.
Put the work in.
Right. And so I took the class, but I had dreams after that. Like for like a few weeks, and I just had dreams, and I really wanted more. I needed more. And so I just took out a credit card and bought myself a wheel, a kiln, and made a studio after a few months, because the kiln is it's a big thing, it's electrical, and so I learned, right? After a few months, I had a studio. I set up a little studio in my basement.
So it started. The dream was building from home. Yeah.
Right. So I can't go another day without this. I was feeling down. It was probably the middle of the winter when I first came across it. And I was like, this is what I need. I don't need meds. I don't need therapy. I need a wheel and a kiln. Okay.
Wow.
Right. So then I set out. I remember that summer. I set out. I was like, by the end of the summer, I'm gonna be, making, I'm gonna first. You want to center the clay. I'm gonna be centering by the end of the summer, and I, spent a lot of time in my basement. And
so as you're in the basement, as you're in the basement, were you thinking, okay, did any thoughts of the business happen, or that was still not? You were just concentrating on getting better at it, right?
Right. At first, I just wanted to get good at it.
Right.
Right. But I felt very lonely. I was in the dungeon alone. And mostly like evenings after put the kids to bed.
Danny's dungeon?
Danny's dungeon, yeah. So then I started, but I wanted to recreate somewhat my experience in college because I had such a great time in college. So I started this group. I called it the Sisterhood of the Artsy Pants or something like that. And
I like it.
Right. Because I started pulling together a group of friends, and mostly women, and just to get them there and do just arts, just to have that,
like a little club,
right? And they brought their friends, and so once a month we'd meet up in my basement, and we did not just ceramics, but I remember I was really into paper marbling at that time, and we did some poetry readings and just things like that.
Wow.
A bottle of wine and just hang out.
There you go.
One evening, and from that I met Genevieve Govoni, who opened up, who's my business partner till very little while ago, and around that time also I got this text from one of my mom's friend, and Chuck. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. She used to run the Artists in the Country a gathering, and she had a friend who was moving to somewhere and had the space, across the Frog Bridge here. And Genevieve and I came in, looked at it, and needed a lot of work, but we were like, well, let's just, as an art studio, it was really affordable, and we picked up the space. It took us like a couple months to really clear it out and arrange. And so the idea, because it was such a cool space and we had so much freedom on what we could do with the space, the idea was to create this community space for artists together and for us to do that. So at that time I started buying old Shimpo wheels, pottery wheels on Craigslist, very cheap, and refurbished them. And I moved my kiln there, and after a few months, we had about 8 wheels. They're old. They're really noisy when they're all on. You know,
8 wheels.
Yes, and when they're all on, it was like, you know, the whole roof was gonna fly off.
This is like in the movie Ghost, when I'm sure you hear that all the time.
I do hear all the time.
One of the most famous scenes, Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. So that's when I started. You know, after that, I felt confident enough that I could start teaching, you know, beginners. And
Over on South Park, right?
Yes, and I'm pretty, you know, like narrow focus when I want to learn something and do something. So I learned pretty quick, and I had some skill already from my background in sculpture. So, but then there was a whole other learning curve of like operating the kiln, maintaining the glazes, and learning all about everything else that goes into ceramics. And the wheel is just one way of working with clay, right? So there's all of that. And so you know, within a year that we got that space, we made the space. There was some ceramics, but then printmaking and some other endeavors. So we did a lot of paint nights, and you know, and open studios where people could come with their kids, and it was a learning process that way.
And this is how Spiral Arts
started
over on South Park. Danny DeSouza's with us on episode 94 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI 95.3 FM and Willimantic Today Facebook and a bunch of other platforms. Brought to you by Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. So, what? Now you're still on South Park Street. Where does how does Main Street come into play? Like, forgive me, how many years are you over on South Park?
5 years.
5 years. Mm-hmm. How do you find out about this, or do you feel like, okay, it's time to expand or time to really grow the business some more? How does that all happen? How do you go from South Park to 750 Main Street?
Well, so we had a really good deal there. Like, our rent was really low, electricity was included. So, but I knew it was too good to be true, and one day would come to an end, right? Because it wasn't sustainable. It was also old and had all its sorts of issues, right? So before the pandemic, I quit my teaching job because it started to really grow, and
business
there was
off,
demand. It was taking off. So I kept my job at Eastern and went to do that full time. And then the pandemic came. So at that point, we had some memberships going on, you know, people that come in, take classes, but want to continue to work and don't need instruction so much. They just need a space. So they paid monthly and had access to the studio, and I'm there to mentor.
So you guys still got through it despite the pandemic?
No, so it halted, right?
Oh, okay.
It halted. Like, everybody just, you know, we didn't know what was going on, right? So everything stopped, and I freaked out a little bit and picked up a job at the high school, the Wyndham High. That's I taught there pretty much throughout the pandemic, and so when things started to return to normal, it felt like it was a boom. So the classes that I had were there was so much demand.
So you came back in a big way, Spiral Arts.
Big way, but I was working full-time at the high school, teaching part-time at Eastern, and running Spiral Arts. And Genevieve has a full-time teaching job, and her kids are younger, so she couldn't, even though I had some community at that point, you know, because we built that community, it was too much. So, but I was still like uncertain about, you know, financially if I was going to be able to, and some issues with the building started to happen. I couldn't make the space ADA compliant.
Okay.
And then QVCC reached out, and because they don't have the facilities here, they wanted to do their classes in my studio. So, you know, hire me as an adjunct so I could teach, but in my facilities. And so at that point, I felt confident that I could find a better spot. Again, I could not make that space ADA compliant, or, you know, it wasn't gonna.
Plus, it sounded like, from what you were just telling us about Spiral Arts Studio, by the way, 750 Main Street, now we're talking about the old location in South Park. It sounds like you had, because kind of like what you got going on today, you still got classes, right? And
classes, workshops, and memberships.
Classes, workshops, and memberships. And
now we also have a shop in the front because we're right in the
That's right. Yeah. I was just up there with Art the other day, and of course our mutual friend Chris Beaudry, and you guys might have bigger news down the road. We won't get into that right now. But tell us a little about Spiral Arts now at 750 Main Street. Spiral Arts Studio, again, a couple doors up from the radio station. You mentioned workshops, classes. Tell us what really goes on at Spiral Arts Studio and what you do exactly.
Right. So then I left my job at Wyndham High and moved here because I felt that there was a big demand for it, and I felt confident I could afford because this is way more expensive than what we had before. Again, with the whole thing with QVCC, it was also a great gig where they would come across the street, and I looked around everywhere for spaces, but when I saw this one here on 750 Main, I just I had the vision, and then I couldn't
what
get
was 750 Main before?
I think it was a catering thing, or no, it was a comic book store.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
So it's so it was great, and so we moved here, and things have been great. We have about 50 members.
That's great.
Right, we have about 4 classes going on. We just recently started a kids class, a WEO kids class, and an arts exploration for kids 12 and up, and we've been doing great. I think people don't quite know about us as much yet.
What are the hours? How can people sign up for any kind of class? Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so if you just sign up for classes, you can go on www.spiralartsstudio.com.
Spiralartstudio.com.
And that's where you can find all the classes that are listed and the cost, and just sign up. You can always give us a call. And then the shop, we have it open at this time of year is a little bit, there's only 3 days a week. We are open from Thursday through Saturday from noon to 6.
Okay.
So even though it always looks like we're open, because people can go in there 24/7, right?
It's a beautiful shop.
Yeah,
beautiful studio.
Members go in to use the space at any time they want. But the shop is not open all of those hours. We expand the hours in the spring and definitely a lot more in the fall. But at this time, only those 3 days. But you can always give me a call and schedule with me if you want to come in.
Want to throw out your number?
My phone, the phone number is 860-377-5826.
377-5826, of course, 860.
And you can text me there too.
Okay, you can text Danny. What more in the final few minutes here? We're going to get before we might go a little over, Matt. I apologize. We got the neighborhood coming up with Ernie. But what more can you share with us about the Spiral Art Studio? And then I want to go through some of these beautiful pieces that you made. One of them for our sister station.
Well, the vision for Spiral Arts has always been to build community and to advocate for the arts and to give access to these, to making art and appreciating art and buying art and making art for anyone, not just artists, because I see art as a human endeavor, right? So, but also as a art student who graduated and didn't know what to do with that, I have become a artist hub where students that are interested in this media and in staying in the field can come, and I do a lot of work studies, and they help me with the shop, they teach, and they make their work, and everything in the shop is made right there. And that gives an opportunity for the younger artists, budding artists, to get a jump start, a springboard. And so a number of my assistants and interns now have their own commissions.
How about that?
Yeah,
that's gotta make you feel pretty good.
Yeah, it feels great actually. I really like how it's unfolding that way. But the vision was always to build community and to give access. So it became a business. But it wasn't necessarily what I had envisioned. Of course, we all have to pay bills and make some
and this is what this show is all about, community. So,
right. So I'm very happy how that has been unfolding. And I would like to expand that.
Go ahead. Spill it if you got some news.
Right. So I want to also fit in here because I know we're running out of time. So one of the things that Spiral Arts has taken on is the Empty Bowls event.
Let's hear it.
That raises funds for the soup kitchen. So all the proceeds from the event goes directly to the Covenant Soup Kitchen. Last year was our first one, and our goal was 400 bowls, and we raised $6,000. It was at the community center and the Willimantic Community Center. They helped out so much. Everybody helped out a lot. It was really kind of special. So all the restaurants donated soup and bread, and we made the bowls, and we had other artists donate bowls. We made bowls and sent out to the high schools and the schools for them to glaze, and then they returned it to us. And this year our goal is 600 bowls, and the event is going to be April 23 from 5 to 7 at the Wyndham Community Center, the Senior Center. And I'm very excited to...
This is great. How can people get involved? They can reach out to you, 860-377-5826 or spiralartstudio.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Or through
on Facebook.
Facebook or Instagram. You can always reach out to see how you can, help out with organization or whatever that is. We definitely need a team, and I do have a team.
You need a team, okay.
So that's happening, and then and there's more because ceramics is just one of the things that I do and enjoy doing it, and I also enjoy music and dance and other media. So more recently, I've been looking to expand that as well and create kind of a arts center, in this in 750 Main. So more on that to come.
All right,
Yeah,
you got a lot of,
cliffhanger.
and your son's got something in the works. I mean, this the De Sousas over here. Gotta check out Danny and Spiral Art Studio, 750 Main Street, Willimantic. Quickly, let's go through some of these wonderful pieces.
Okay.
For those of you, again, if you're listening on the radio, make sure you check it out. Willimantic Today Facebook or Keith C. Rice Facebook page. I'm sure Danny will be sharing it on her page, the Spiral Arts page too, right?
Right.
On Facebook. This is the mug she made for I-98.3, our sister station. A couple of them here.
Yeah, recently we bought a 3D printer so we can make stamps. So we've been making mugs with all the businesses in town. Our marketing strategy is to go and gift them one, and if they want more to resell or to put it up for sale in their shop. So we've done for the Food Co-op and Bliss and Marketplace and Yono and a number of other places. Now for the radio station. I make them, but my assistants also make them, and we all have our different, aesthetics. This one here is, I didn't bring any of Hannah's, but Hannah has beautiful mugs as well. This one's Kaylin's.
Love that.
Yep.
So, a couple quick things here. Shout out to your staff real quick.
Yeah, shout out to my staff. They are awesome. Come and meet them.
What are their names? You said
Kaylin, Hannah, Megan Starbird, Nicole Demir, and Paul. And and there's more. There's a great community.
Wow,
we have a really nice community in the studio there. We became friends, and we do collaborative work. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Pleasure to meet you. I know I've heard all about you, and I know I've been in your shop briefly, but I've been wanting to get you in here for Hometown Threads. Thank you so much. The family's got a lot going on. Danny De Sousa and her son's got big things in the works next door. I can't really get into that, but make sure you check out Spiral Art Studio. Again, 750 Main Street, Willimantic. I keep doing like that because it's really a couple doors up. SpiralArtStudio.com. Danny, again, thank you. Thank you to Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind, J-Matt Rupar. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. That'll do it for Hometown Threads, episode 94 in the books. And in the words of the great Roddy McCumber.
Bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.